Confidence comes from having evidence that you can see from your own personal self that you have knowledge or experience or an understanding that you can move forward, and the odds are mostly with you. Confidence comes from knowing that this risk isn't that risky. And confidence comes from knowing that you'll be okay no matter what happens with what's going on right now. A way that helps me with confidence when I'm doing stuff is knowing that I have another life I could lead. And when I'm, say, dealing with something really stressful, I can go to that place in my mind. I can go to that place and know I'm capable of that. If this life that I'm currently leading becomes something I don't want, I can go do that instead. And that takes a lot of risk, that takes a lot of struggle out of what I'm doing. For instance, right now I'm a renter and I have a roommate and I live in an apartment. Because of that, I get to enjoy some of the plus sides of that. And because of that, I have to deal with some of the negative sides of that. I know that for right now, this is comfortable. This is okay. It's something I can live with, and I am investing in myself still, so it's fine. Because I am living this way, it's, you know, pretty on par with how most people are living anyway. It's pretty in common with other people. But I know that I grew up and my father was a bricklayer, and I was around construction sites a lot as a child. This was back in the day before there were as many rules about such things. I also worked doing that. All of us kids ended up working there for at least a while when we were teenagers and stuff. And being around that much construction stuff gives you a little bit of experience with it. And I might not know all the ins and outs, but I know how to cut brick. I know how to stack scaffolding. I know how to paint. I know how to do, you know, a bunch of stuff that I learned from doing that kind of thing. And so because of that, I have a certain degree of confidence that if I needed to, and I wanted to not rent anymore, that I could build a tiny house. And when I am really stressed, I go to a place in my mind where I'm like living in my little tiny house. And the thing is, because I know that other life is an option, and I know that other life is also one that I could tolerate, also one that would be semi-comfortable for me, also one that I could manage living in and feel decent about, I feel way less risky about investing into myself right now, while I have this current lifestyle, while I live in this current place. I know it's not the end of the world if I decide to stop renting. Not everyone has that. But also, I feel like not everyone thinks about a second life that they could have. And it could be anything. It could be, I know this relationship is very unhealthy in a lot of ways, and we can work on the relationship, and that's fine. But if that doesn't work out, it's okay, because I know I have this other option instead. I know I will find someone else in this way, or I will do this thing. I am financially investing into this option, but I'm not sure 100% if this is a high risk thing or not. So I have this backup option, and if I decide at any point I don't feel comfortable with this, I want to take my money out of this and I want to put it somewhere else, I already have the somewhere else in mind. I already know what I would do. It gives you a lot of confidence to know what you would do instead. Desperation can come from feeling forced, feeling like you have to, like you're trapped, like there's no other option, there's no other way. And so having another way, having another option that you've already thought through yourself, you've already crunched some of the numbers for it, you've already figured out that you already have some of the experience that could get you partway there, helps. I know I have an emergency fund to help me get initially started with building the tiny house. And I know I have the ability to set up the framing and stuff like that. I also know that only creates a structure. I know nothing about the electric and the plumbing. I've tried learning a little bit, but I definitely do not feel confident about doing the electric and the plumbing. So, knowing how to construct the building to a certain degree gives me enough confidence that I'm not stressed. But I am aware that I don't know everything about that because I haven't actually done it. It's okay to be partly there. You can still get confidence from a partial momentum. Having an idea of what your option is better than feeling like you have no options at all. If you are in any kind of situation, no matter what kind of situation it is, and you feel forced, you feel trapped, you feel like there's no other way, it's so important to stop and take a few minutes and think, what would I do instead? If this was not happening right now, if this was not the thing you were up against, what would you do instead? If you've got $11,000 in debt and you feel desperate, every week you're getting a collection call, what would you do instead of taking those collection calls? What can you do instead? Well, bankruptcy. Well, bankruptcy seems pretty bad, but what's some other things? There's plenty of agencies and stuff that if you're over $10,000 in debt, that they can help you reduce how much you have to pay back. There's a bunch of stuff even from the federal government to help with things like that. Maybe you have all that debt and it's so overwhelming it's hard to think about. The very act of not thinking about it is creating insecurity. Thinking about it and thinking about other options helps create confidence. Knowing that you have something else you could do. And the something else might not be the choice that you would prefer. Sometimes I think, I don't know, maybe I would prefer the tiny house thing. But then I think, but I'm already settled in here. Being comfortable and not having to expend the energy, the time, and the expense of moving, of actually building a structure for, 6 months, that's comfortable. So I stay where I'm at. Maybe you're looking at stuff and you're like, you know what? Right now I can barely afford rent. I don't know what to do. My favorite option is not getting a roommate. I don't want to have to do that. But I could survive it, and maybe I could get a roommate for 6 months, and then that would earn enough that I could cover expenses for the rest of the year. Find a way to accept it's not your favorite opinion, but could you get through it? I can't hardly afford rent. I don't know what to do about it, so I might have to go live in a van for a while. That sucks. I do not like thinking that at all. But if I do the actual math, if I crunch the actual numbers, I would only have to do that for like 3 months. Do the math, think about it, because if something happens, you already know what to start looking into. You already know something you can start trying to do. Okay, I know I'm gonna have to end up in this van, but this is an emergency situation. Can I get my stuff over to my friends before I end up in the van so that I can get the van cleaned up and situated, because I know that's what I'm doing. I can sleep on my friend's house for, how much did they say? Okay, they said I can stay there for the weekend. That gives me 2 days to get all my stuff out of here into my friend's place, sleep on their couch for 2 days, and during those 2 days, it's on the weekend, I don't have to work, but on Saturday. So Sunday I have a day to clean up in the van, get things situated so I can put my stuff in there. Get yourself going with the plan. The plan might not be what you want to do, but it is another option. Having a different option means you know you're not gonna just die. You're not gonna just end up in the streets. If you don't give yourself another option, our brains sadly tend to go to the extremes. Oh no, my only option is to tell my parents that I don't want to go through with, this degree in this subject, and I actually want to do this one, and them cut me off, and they won't pay for any school anymore at all, and I won't have any college money at all, or else I have to get this degree and I'm gonna hate my job for the rest of my life. But my parents said I have to get this one. Those are the extreme options. In reality, you could get a job. I worked 2 jobs through college and interned, but they were part-time jobs, to be fair. But I'm just saying, there's other options. The options might be sucky, but there are other options. It's a lot easier to tell your parents, you know what? I know you're paying for college. I respect that you're paying for college so much. I am grateful beyond words. But the degree that I'm currently doing, I did it because I wanted you to be proud of me and I wanted you to be willing to invest in me. But I'm your kid. You've already invested in me all these years that I was being raised. And if you're willing to still invest into college, please believe in me that I'm telling you that this is the degree I want to pursue, and I genuinely see a career for myself in this, and here's the steps I'm going to take to make sure that career is actually realistic. You tell them that, and they say, well, this seems logical. Okay, we'll give it a chance. And you're excited. But what if they don't? If they don't say that, tell them, okay, well then I have these other options. I've already thought it through. I've crunched the numbers. This is what I have to do instead. And they might turn around and say yes again, or they might not. But they are sure as heck gonna be impressed. When you have another option, it's not just confidence in yourself that gets built. Other people develop more confidence in you. When you are the person who doesn't see all the closed doors, when you're the person who sees, well, here's a different route we could take, people notice. Invest in yourself, invest in your own place of confidence, and give yourself evidence that you can present to yourself and that you can present to other people of your experience in the subject matter, in your knowledge, in your understanding, in your capability. You can do it.